1. The Rock and Mankind's brutal I Quit match. The Rock vs. Mankind match at Royal Rumble was supposed to be wild, but nobody expected just how brutal it would get. The match started off as expected, chaotic and violent, but took a sharp turn when Foley got handcuffed. At that point, Rock unloaded on him with 11 unprotected chair shots straight to the head. No hands up, no blocking, just bam, bam, bam. And Foley kept getting back up. By the end of it, his head was bleeding, his body was limp, and the crowd was stunned into silence. Foley's entire family was ringside, and they were clearly shaken by the bloodbath. His kids were crying for real, and his wife was furious at how real things were getting. In hindsight, even The Rock has said he regrets how far they took it. WWE has edited the match heavily for modern broadcasts, cutting chair shots and muting parts of the commentary. 2. Muhammad Hassan's terrorist angle at SmackDown.
Who the hell is that? Two guys in masks. Wait, what the hell is going on?
In 2005, WWE introduced Muhammad Hassan as a heel who was tired of being stereotyped as a terrorist because of his Middle Eastern heritage. The idea had potential, but then things fell apart. On an episode of SmackDown, Hassan had a group of masked men show up dressed like a terror cell. They beat up The Undertaker while he watched from the stage. The whole thing looked like a terror attack scene. Is that it aired just days after the London bombings. People were furious. UPN, the network airing SmackDown, wanted it pulled immediately. Hassan's character was dropped right after that and never seen again. WWE wiped the whole thing from their archives. What could have been thoughtful ended up as one of the biggest screw-ups in WWE history. 3. Edge and Lita's live celebration.
This is a menage a trois, huh? I hope that doesn't throw anybody up, by the way.
This is one of those segments that makes people say, wait, they actually aired that on TV? After the Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank and won the WWE Championship, he celebrated on Raw in the most over-the-top way possible. Instead of a promo or a match, he and Lita brought a bed into the ring and had a live celebration. The lights dimmed, Lita stripped to her underwear, and Edge climbed under the covers with her. The crowd was loving it, but a lot of people watching at home were just stunned. At one point, Edge even started pulling down his trunks before Ric Flair ran in to break it up. The whole thing was meant to show how cocky Edge had become, but it pushed things a little too far. WWE got plenty of heat for it, and the segment is now heavily edited on modern platforms. 4. Beaver Cleavage's inappropriate gimmick.
Beaver wants some of mother's milk?
In 1999, Mosh from the Headbangers was repackaged as Beaver Cleavage, a parody of an old-school 1950s sitcom character. But instead of being funny, it got creepy real fast. He was paired with a woman called Mother, who was supposed to be his mom, but their segments were full of awkward innuendos. She'd bend over in front of him, he'd talk about her milk in a way that made everyone squirm, and the whole thing felt more like a bad adult cartoon than a wrestling angle. Fans didn't just hate it, they were confused out of their minds. It bombed so badly, the WWE had them drop the gimmick live on air and admit it wasn't working. The whole thing disappeared after that, and WWE has completely buried it ever since. 5. Mickie James at WrestleMania 22. If you were watching WrestleMania 22 live, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Mickie James was already playing this obsessed fan going after Trish Stratus, when out of nowhere, she did something that totally shocked everyone. She grabbed Trish in a very suggestive way, licked her hand, and flashed a quick sign to the camera. The crowd went wild. Half were laughing, the other half looked like they couldn't believe what they just saw. Backstage, Vince McMahon apparently freaked out and called it way over the line. WWE quickly cut that part out of every replay. Now if you watch the match, you only get a quick cutaway or a blur. To this day, nobody's quite sure if Mickie was told to do it or if she just went for it on the spot. 6. Kat's topless stunt at Armageddon. This wasn't just peak Attitude Era, it was WWE straight up losing its mind on live TV. Kat had just won an evening gown pool match, which was already one of those what are we even doing kinds of segments. She's standing there in the ring, soaking wet, the crowd going nuts, and instead of just smiling or taunting her opponent, she takes off her bra. Like actually takes it off. Nothing censored, just full on, live on pay-per-view. The crowd absolutely lost it. You could hear this mix of cheering and stunned silence. The camera tried to cut away, but it was way too late. The announcers stumbled over their words, and you just know someone in the production truck was losing their mind. Sponsors were furious, and people backstage didn't know what to say. WWE scrubbed the whole thing from replays, but if you were watching that night, you'll never forget it. 7. The choppy cliffhanger.
Pretty subtle message. Choppy, yo. Beep, beep.
If you were watching wrestling in 1998, you probably remember this moment whether you want to or not. Val Venus was playing an adult film star, and in true Attitude Era fashion, he got caught sleeping with Yamaguchi-san's wife. That alone was wild, but WWE decided to crank the insanity up even more. On Raw, the Japanese group Kaientai kidnapped Val, tied him up backstage, and dragged him into some sketchy storage room. Yamaguchi-san stood over him with a samurai sword, and right before swinging, shouted the now infamous line, "I choppy your pee-pee." The screen immediately cut to black, and fans were left thinking WWE had just castrated a guy on national TV. WWE has since erased that from everything. Looking back, it's offensive, uncomfortable, and just plain bizarre. 8. Eugene's special needs gimmick. Eugene's gimmick from 2004 is a tricky one to talk about. The idea was to create a lovable underdog character. He was portrayed as a wrestler with special needs, who had a childlike innocence, loved wrestling trivia, and was surprisingly skilled inside the ring. At first, fans really got behind him and enjoyed watching this unique persona. But things quickly got uncomfortable. The Evolution group, especially Triple H, didn't treat Eugene like an equal competitor. Instead, they used him as a pawn in their games. They manipulated him, tricked him, mocked him, and humiliated him on live television. What should have been a heartwarming story about overcoming challenges ended up feeling like exploitation. Many people felt uneasy seeing a grown man pretend to have mental disabilities while being bullied for entertainment. Today, WWE has edited or removed much of Eugene's more troubling content from streaming services, showing how much the perception of the character has changed. 9. DX's blackface parody of the nation.
Don't know what you're cooking. Smells like
This is one of those moments that aged in the worst way possible. In the middle of their feud with the Nation of Domination, D-Generation X thought it would be hilarious to mock them with a full parody. But instead of just doing impressions or wearing similar gear, they went all in. Costumes, fake accents, over-the-top mannerisms, and yes, actual blackface. X-Pac dressed as Mark Henry and called him Mizark. Triple H played The Rock. Road Dogg did a clumsy version of D'Lo Brown. At the time, the crowd ate it up, and WWE aired it like it was just another comedy segment. But today, it's been completely scrubbed from everything. No replays, no network clips, nothing. Even X-Pac has openly said he regrets doing it. 10. Katie Vick disaster.
screwed your brains out.
There's bad storytelling, and then there's whatever this was. In 2002, WWE gave us the Katie Vick storyline, and it's still considered one of the most uncomfortable and flat-out embarrassing things the company has ever aired. It started as a feud between Triple H and Kane, but instead of sticking to wrestling, Triple H claimed Kane had accidentally killed a girl named Katie Vick in a car crash years earlier. That alone was weird, and then came the segment. Triple H appeared in a pre-taped skit dressed as Kane, climbed into a funeral home casket with a mannequin, and pretended to have with it. He threw around fake guts, acted like it was a joke, and ended it by saying, "I screwed your brains out." This scene wasn't funny, it was gross. The crowd hated it, and WWE has deleted the footage completely from its network. 11. The Godwinns stop drop on Sunny. Back in 1996, wrestling was all about big, messy revenge moments. and the Godwinns dumping slop on Sunny is one of the more infamous examples. Sunny was managing tag teams at the time, using her charm and attitude to get under people's skin. She was arrogant, loud, and didn't hold back when it came to taunting the Godwinns, who were portrayed as pig farmers. Their answer to her attitude was pouring a massive bucket of slop, which was supposed to be pig waste, all over her during the Raw show. Sunny ended up slipping, screaming, and covered in brown muck from head to toe. The crowd found it hilarious at the moment, but looking back now, it feels pretty harsh. It wasn't the worst thing WWE ever did, but it definitely came off as humiliating and mean-spirited. Nowadays, WWE barely shows this clip because it crosses a line between silly and just plain degrading. 12. Eddie Guerrero's bloody mess at Judgment Day. If you've ever wondered how far Eddie Guerrero was willing to go for a match, this was it. He was facing JBL for the WWE title, and what started as a typical hard-hitting brawl quickly turned into something else. There was a chair shot early on. Eddie went for a blade job to sell the moment, and he just went too deep. What followed didn't even look like wrestling anymore. Blood poured down his face like a faucet. The crowd, which had been hot, was getting quiet. You could feel the mood shift. People weren't cheering. They were watching like they weren't sure if this was part of the show anymore. Eddie somehow finished the match because that's who he was. But backstage, he went into shock and needed medical help immediately. WWE rarely shows it now, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. 13. Vince McMahon's limo explosion. "2007 was a crazy year for WWE, and they decided to take it one step further by faking Vince McMahon's death. So in an episode of Raw, Vince got dressed up and entered his limousine as usual. Out of nowhere, the vehicle exploded on live TV, sending everyone into complete shock. The crazy part is that WWE sold it like it was real. Commentators went silent, the website went dark, and they even aired tribute videos. Fans were confused, some were genuinely upset, and the internet blew up with theories. Even Donald Trump called WWE headquarters to make sure Vince wasn't actually dead. The plan was to launch a full-blown whodidit storyline. But then disaster struck as weeks later, the Chris Benoit tragedy happened, and WWE pulled the plug immediately. Vince reappeared on TV like nothing ever happened. They never wrapped up the limo story, and you won't find the full segment on Peacock or anywhere else. 14. Sable's topless handprint reveal. Around 1998, Sable was the queen of the women's division. She had the aura, the sex appeal, and the in-ring ability to make people stare at her. During one of the pay-per-views, she was booked for a bikini contest against Jacqueline, and fans knew something wild was about to happen. Sable walked out with a robe, playing it cool and teasing the crowd like she was up to something. Then out of nowhere, she dropped the robe and revealed nothing but 2 black handprints painted over her chest. No bra, no bikini top, just those handprints. The crowd lost it instantly. Even Jerry Lawler, who's usually pretty chill on commentary, sounded shocked. The cameras blurred the shot on TV, but by then, the moment was done. That stunt wasn't just about shock value, it was a defining moment for the Attitude Era. 15. Vince says the N-word.
Keep it up, I'm a nigga.
This is one of those moments that makes you stop and say, wait, did that really just happen? During Survivor Series 2005, Vince McMahon approached the WWE champion John Cena backstage for a comedy skit. The idea was to show Vince trying to be down with Cena's street persona, but what came out of his mouth crossed every line imaginable. He leaned into Cena and casually dropped the N-word on live television. Right after, the camera cut to Booker T and Sharmell, who looked completely shocked. Booker dropped his classic, "Tell me he didn't just say that."
Tell me he didn't just say that.
And fans were unsure whether to laugh or cringe. In the years since, the segment has been completely buried. It's been removed from streaming platforms, cut out of replays, and never brought up again on WWE programming. 16. Vince threatens God.
On second thought, you know what, God? Bring it! Whatever you've got! I don't care what it is!
If you thought mocking real people was bold, WWE once decided to beef with God himself. In 2006, Vince McMahon and his son were set to face Shawn Michaels and his tag team partner, God. That's not even the crazy part. Vince went on to cut an edgy promo where he declared that if he and God ever got in the ring, God would get his, quote, ass kicked. He even went as far as staging a tag entrance where God had his own spotlight and theme song. This entire feud was WWE's bizarre way of mocking Michaels' faith, and it didn't go unnoticed. Religious groups were outraged, and even some longtime fans felt the company had taken it too far. WWE quietly distanced itself from the angle later, cutting it out of many recaps and highlight packages. To this day, the segment remains one of the most blasphemous storylines WWE has ever put on television. 17. Mark Henry and Mae Young affair.
We have an announcement to make!
I'm pregnant!
What?
During the height of the Attitude Era, WWE leaned hard into shock humor, and one of the weirdest results was the romantic storyline between Mark Henry and Mae Young. The 400-pound powerhouse was paired with the elderly Hall of Famer in what was supposed to be a comedic mismatch. But things went off the rails when Mae Young announced she was pregnant with Mark's baby on live television. And then came the infamous delivery. During a backstage segment, Mae screamed in labor. And when the camera zoomed in, she gave birth to a rubber hand. No explanation, no serious follow-up, just a hand covered in slime. The crowd was stunned, and even the commentators seemed unsure of how to react. WWE never seriously tried to justify the moment, though it has been referenced in later comedic segments. To this day, nobody really knows what the point was. 18. Trish barks like a dog. Trish Stratus had one of the most successful careers in WWE history, but she had to endure some seriously humiliating moments on the way up. In one of the most degrading segments of the Attitude Era, Vince McMahon forced Trish to strip down to her underwear in the middle of the ring and bark like a dog. The segment, which aired in 2001, was meant to show Vince's dominance over his female talent, and Trish, playing the submissive role, had to crawl on all fours while fans watched in stunned silence. Even at the time, the segment was uncomfortable, but years later it aged even worse. WWE has tried to reframe Trish's legacy by focusing on her achievements, but this scene is often brought up as an example of how badly women were treated on TV back then. It's been quietly edited out of most online platforms and is likely to stay that way. 19. Roddy Piper paints himself black.
When it comes to me, there ain't no difference between black or white.
Before his WrestleMania 6 match against Bad News Brown, Piper cut a promo where he appeared with half his body painted black. He claimed it was to show that he understood both sides of the fight, but it didn't come across that way at all. Instead, it looked like blackface on one of the biggest wrestling platforms in the world. Piper defended the segment, saying he was trying to make a statement about unity, but that message got completely lost. Fans didn't know what to make of it, and many saw it as flat-out offensive. WWE stopped replaying the promo not long after and quietly removed it from several collections. Even when they celebrate Piper's legacy, this promo is conveniently ignored. It's another example of how what seemed edgy at the time now looks completely unacceptable. 20. Chris Benoit tragedy.
For other than my comments, there will be no mention of Mr. Benoit's name tonight.
In 2007, the wrestling world was rocked when news broke that Chris Benoit had killed his wife and young son before taking his own life. The tragedy sent shockwaves through WWE and forced the company into one of the most extreme cases of censorship in its history. WWE immediately removed all Benoit mentions from programming, erased footage of his matches, and stopped acknowledging his existence altogether. Pay-per-views and weekly shows that featured Benoit were heavily edited or pulled from re-airing. To this day, WWE barely references Benoit, making this the most tragic case of WWE wiping a wrestler's legacy from its archives due to real-life tragedy. 21. Hardcore Holly breaks neck.
See a powerbomb here, and once again, Holly. Oh,
On a 2002 episode of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar faced Hardcore Holly. in a standard match, but things quickly turned dark. Lesnar picked Holly for a routine powerbomb and ended up breaking his neck accidentally. The move was badly mistimed, and Holly didn't jump up at the right time either. Due to his sandbagging, he landed awkwardly on his upper spine. The match still continued and even aired at the time, but the injury sidelined Holly for over a year. WWE has quietly avoided spotlighting the match ever since, and it's noticeably missing from Lesnar's match history or any SmackDown compilations. The match hasn't been deleted entirely, but WWE prefers not to draw attention to a botched move that put a wrestler out for over a year. It's one of several early career moments WWE chooses to keep in the background to maintain its polished brand and emphasize today's focus on safety.